Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm your host, Jill Jardine. In today's episode, I can't wait to introduce you to Kerry Brett, Boston celebrity photographer, podcaster, dating expert, Tinder success story, and author. You may know her as the host of Shot at Love. I've been a guest on it several times, but we're going to talk about Kerry's book, Shot at Love, today. You're going to want to stay tuned to find out more. Hey listeners, I want to remind you to support Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine podcast. You can do that by going on to www.buzzsprout.com/958-528/support. This will be in the show notes. Welcome to the 5th anniversary episode of Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm your host, Jill Jardine, longtime astrologer, psychic healer, and yogi. In today's episode, my guest is the person who got me into podcasting, Kerry Brett, host of Shot at Love. Kerry Brett is a Boston-based celebrity photographer and the host of Shot at Love, the first motivational podcast dedicated to helping others find love. A 9-time award-winning show, Shot at Love, ranks in the top 1% of podcasts globally and broadcasts 5 days a week on iHeartRadio Live, Power Me Up, Talk Radio 24/7, and all major platforms. Kerry's Shot at Love podcast blends her experiences with laughter-filled life lessons, uplifting listeners and offering practical advice. In February 2025, Kerry released Shot at Love, a memoir, a celebrity photographer's lens on finding love, a heartfelt and hilarious exploration of her journey through the dating world, offering lessons and insights for those seeking love. Kerry's journey into the world of dating expertise stems from her profound empathy for singles navigating online dating. Understanding that your profile is your personal brand, she launched the Swiping Soiree in 2019, a seminar empowering women to transform their lives through dating. Her podcast features an impressive guest lineup, including Oscar-winning actor Chris Cooper, kayak company founder Paul English, relationship expert John Gray, men are from Mars, women from Venus, best-selling author Elin Hildebrand, podcaster Jordan Harbinger, and yours truly, Jill Jardine. I've been a guest on her podcast several times as the featured astrologer. Shot at Love has earned numerous accolades, including multiple communication awards for Best Host and Outstanding Episodes and nominations for the People Choice Podcast Awards from 2021 to 2023. It has consistently ranked number 8 on FeedSpot's top 25 dating podcasts for 4 consecutive years. Kerry Brett is also a professional photographer of America Master Photographers with 28 years of experience running her successful studio in Hingham, Massachusetts. Her distinctive award-winning portraits have graced the covers of the Boston Globe magazine, Boston Common magazine, N magazine, and the Improper Bostonian, where she served as staff photographer for 28 years. Kerry captured iconic portraits of renowned personalities such as David Ortiz, Amy Poehler, Rashida Jones, and Steve Carell. Her viral cover series of Bill Belichick and Linda Holliday for N magazine garnered millions of viewers online. In addition to her photography, Kerry co-authored Boston, Inspirational Women with her father, Bill Brett, celebrating remarkable women with ties to Boston. She is also a certified professional photographer and nationally affiliated judge. She has lectured for Professional Photographers of America and taught at the Hallmark School of Photography. Kerry's lifelong passion for storytelling and art has made her a trusted voice and visual creator, seamlessly blending her skills behind the lens with her mission to inspire through Shot at Love. Kerry is also the author of the recently published book, Shot at Love, a celebrity photographer's unfiltered lens on dating and finding love. And we're going to talk about her book, Shot at Love, Lens on Love, from dating rock bottom to a Tinder success story. Kerry's journey in the book is from what she calls the basement of rock bottom to becoming a source of inspiration, and it's filled with laugh out loud moments of self-discovery. Think Bridget Jones swipes right on Tinder and meets a Boston version of Sex and the City, minus the sex, because she's Irish Catholic 51 and her parents listen to her show. Kerry takes on the unpredictability of life with a smile. She's always camera ready and knows that you miss all the shots you don't take. It's my honor and pleasure to welcome my guest today, author of Shot at Love book, recently released, host of podcast Shot at Love, my guest, my friend, my cohort and colleague, Kerry Brett. Welcome, Kerry.
Hi, Jill. Thanks so much for having me on the show today.
I'm so psyched to have you on the show. This is actually the 5th year anniversary special of Cosmic Scene, and how perfect to have you as the guest, as you're the one who got me into podcasting.
That's right.
And in the depth of COVID, you and I and our engineer Tom were in our podcasting pod at your photography studio, newly Christian podcast studio, recording Shot at Love and launching Cosmic Scene. So it's so great to have you here to talk about your new book and your podcast and whatever else you want to talk about.
Okay. You know, I really owe so much to you. You gave me my power back when I was getting divorced, and you gave me my very first reading, which I talk about actually in the book.
Woohoo!
Chapter 1, I talk about how you spoke into a tape recorder. That's how long ago this was.
Yeah.
Predicting that I would find love again. You also predicted that I would write a book. And I remember when you said that to me, I was just trying to fix my life and find a guy to date. That's why I was paying for a reading. We didn't even know each other.
That's right. The first time you came.
And I had plans to do, I figured at some point in my life I would do a photography book.
Yes.
Because my dad was on that path. And never in my life did I think I would become a writer. And when you said to me, you're going to publish a book, and I said, sure, it'd be a coffee table photography book, that made sense to me. And you said, no, it's going to be something else. You're going to write it.
I think I told you it was going to be a self-help book. And at that point, you were firmly ensconced in your photography career as the celebrity photographer of Boston. And let people know who your dad is and why this is like a lineage thing for you with the photography.
It certainly is. So my dad is Bill Brett. He's a award-winning, longtime photojournalist for the Boston Globe. He worked there for 55 years. And I grew up really in a dark room alongside of him, and was a photographer as a child. Started getting published when I was 17, and started shooting covers at 20. And I never imagined finding something that I loved as much as photography. I figured I would do all sorts of photography throughout my life, which I have done, but my path and my purpose changed when I found myself heartbroken and really in the depths of despair.
The dark night of the soul. And I actually met you before that, because flashback to however many years ago, you showed up at my office and you had me run charts of 2 potential dates. One was bachelor number 1, and this second one was bachelor number 2. This is pre-Tinder. This is pre-online dating. So I remember running the charts of these 2 men. And the first one, I was like, oh, this one is famous. He's going to be, really good to be with. You won't have to worry about money. There'll be security. But boy, this second one, he's a charmer. He's a lover. He's going to sweep you off your feet.
Right.
What happened?
Well, we were both the 11th. And
so you went for the second one, right?
There was 2 choices. One that was good on paper, and the other one was just really good looking. And that's how I usually get myself into trouble, by looking at the exterior. So that journey was supposed to happen because I learned an awful lot, and I pushed my creativity as well as his. And I also learned that I don't really think I need to be with another creative, that I needed to be with someone who was the opposite of me.
So this is the male in your book, Giovanni, the musician.
Yes.
That's who that character is based on.
Yes. Right. So the names have been changed and the identities and everything has been changed about the people that needed to be for the purpose of protecting their lives. And the other characters in the book are friends of mine or guides who showed me the way and helped me get my power back and put me on the path forward. And all of those people have agreed to use their real names, which makes it really exciting and special. It also happens with the backdrop of the Improper Bostonian magazine, where I photographed covers for 28 years. And my publisher, Wendy Simonian, is in it. My gay work husband, Jonathan Soroff, celebrity writer, is in it. Famous writer John D. Spooner is in it as well. My long-serving art director served as an editor and did the layout and design and was just really helpful. So it was a way that we all got to work together again at the magazine. And all these incredible writers were so supportive of me trying a new form of storytelling, which is what podcasting is, and
Yes.
writing and shooting. So once I could figure out that, oh, I just have to swap my camera out for a microphone or a microphone out for words, it came to me pretty easily.
Yes, and I've been with you through this journey that you've been on, and I remember when you started to write it, I'm like, this is going to be a Netflix series. It is hysterical. And, my predictions have kind of played out for you, haven't they? But I just want to read something about your book, because this is kind of to give people an idea of how entertaining it actually is. I mean, it's getting to a deep issue of finding love amidst the phoenix rising from the ashes of disappointment in love. Here's something about the book for the listeners. I love this. Kerry shares her journey of rebuilding her life through dating, delivering a story that's equal parts modern-day Daisy Jones and the Six, Bridget Jones's Diary, and a Boston Sex and the City, without the sex because, well, she's Irish Catholic. Growing up in a working-class family on the South Shore just outside of Boston, Kerry found solace and hope in pop culture, sitcoms, artists like Adele and Amy Winehouse when heartbreak hit. With her flair for humor and a knack for seeing the absurdity in life's toughest moments, she recalls channeling her inner Marcia Brady, only to end up ghosted by a fictional George Glass and wondering if Sam the Butcher was still single. In a truly meta moment, she even used a picture of herself alongside the real Peter Brady, Christopher Knight, on her Tinder profile, a move that's as bold as hilarious. Flash forward, you actually met him, right?
I met him in 2009, and now they're my friends. His wife, Kara Knight, is my friend. And Chris, is always asking, are you texting Kerry right now? So it's funny. Chris Knight is Peter Brady, the real Peter Brady. And I used my imagination. I didn't have much. I grew up in a Cape just outside of Boston, and there were four of us. So we didn't go to
four kids.
Four kids, and we didn't have camp. We had a bike, and I had books, and I had the Bradys, and that was enough. And my first guru was Mr. Rogers, and even as a child, I felt that he was my friend. And when I was in the hospital getting my tonsils out, I demanded that Rogers come to my parents, like right before they knocked me out. I'm like, call Rogers. He'll be on his way. And I was so little, but to me, I'm not surprised that I'm friends with a Brady, like a real life Brady.
Right.
Because I was that connected. And I'm not surprised the different movies. So Chris Cooper is a friend of mine and his wife. I met Chris Cooper because I was obsessed with the movie American Beauty. And I went to the premiere and I said, I have to photograph you. I didn't even have permission. And he's in chapter 5, and he gave me my power back when I was in a very bad place. And I just had such a big imagination that I pulled these real-time actors and musicians, artists, creatives into my world because I was connected through the television or through the movies. And that was the early part of manifestation, was that visualization that I had so clearly. And it's really interesting to look back because I didn't know what was in store for my future. But I remember when I was reading, and I told my friend Maureen Hancock, who's a famous medium, who's in the book as well, I speak about Tina Turner quite a bit throughout the book. And during chapter 11, she died. She left this world. And I was reading the Audible for my audio component, and I broke down crying.
Wow.
And I said to my friend Maureen, this is ridiculous that I'm crying in this passage, because to me, that's how much Tina Turner meant to me. That I never met her, but she was a single mom like me, and her words were pain that she lived through.
Right. And like you, she found chanting with the
That's right.
Buddhist chant Namya Harengi Ko.
Right.
And Sanskrit mantras have helped you, which we'll talk about shortly. But it's amazing how everything that you experienced led you to the podcast when you thought you were going to be a lifelong celebrity photographer, and then from the podcast to the book. So life is a journey. And as a creative, I know you well, and I've seen how when you are in alignment, you bring in synchronicity, you bring in the helpful people, you bring in the famous people, you bring in the spiritual people, and life becomes a journey. And I think that's also an underlying message of this book. I mean, this book is multifaceted, how to find love, but also when you tap in and you have your goal, you can achieve it. And I think it's kind of cool, too, that along the journey, who becomes a good friend of yours, but Michael Lozier, the author of The Law of Attraction, he even wrote one of the accolades on the back cover of the book. So you want to say a little bit about your experience with The Law of Attraction and Michael Lozier?
Sure. So I was a self-help guru junkie early high school days. I bought my first Tony Robbins cassette off of an infomercial, and I would drive around my parents' Shaggy Wagon with listening to it in the car, and my friends, producer Tom Corey is one of them, would be laughing at me because they get in the car and then it would be, Tony Robbins working his magic, and I would be saying the words that he would be saying, and then the next day I'd end up on the front page of the Globe or whatever, and I'd be like, how do you like me now? So I was doing this stuff as a teenager, and I always wanted to be a motivational speaker. I didn't know how that would happen. And so I was definitely one of the first people to purchase Law of Attraction, and he denied being on The Secret. He said no to Rhonda Byrne. He did not want to be a part of The Secret. But they said the Law of Attraction so much throughout The Secret, the movie.
He was there.
That he beat J.K. Rowling to #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. And he didn't have a business card. He sold 4 million books. He had the belief that he doesn't even read. I'm like, Michael, can I send you a book? He's like, I don't read. He's like, don't save your money with the postage. So I was fascinated with him. He willed himself on Oprah, I think it was 4 times in the end, because every day he repeated, Oprah's going to love me. Well, Lady O did love him. She gave him a radio show on Oprah and Friends. So he had the visualization piece, and he could connect with that source energy. And when I found him on the social audio app Clubhouse, and I decided to send him a DM on Instagram. And before I started writing, I said, I'm going to use the Law of Attraction to have him say yes. Sure enough, 2 seconds later, Michael responds to vibration, and our vibration are aligned. So much so, we became friends on the audio app, and I moderate his rooms. I'm one of his moderators. So it's been crazy that this mad manifestation guru also became one of my friends, but the alignment matched. The vibration was the same.
Isn't that amazing? There is something to that. Like throughout my life, there's been like three spiritual teachers that I wanted to meet since the 80s. And one of them was Barbara Hand Clow, who's a famous author, and she's just released The Alchemy of Nine Dimensions. But I met her in the late 80s. I had only been reading her books for a few years, and then I was able to be at her workshops and being a healer in the back room. The second was Dick Sutphin, who was a big hypnosis guy in the 1980s. Met him in Sedona back in early 2000. And then somebody you know and I know, Namadeva Acharya, who was Thomas Ashley Farran, the Sanskrit mantra Western guru. I read his first book and I was like, I'm going to meet him. And then he became my teacher. So it's interesting when you put your energy and your vibe together, you bring these people into your life, no matter how famous they may be in whatever. They were all in the obviously in the esoteric movement, but you've worked this energy forever in all kinds of celebrity arenas.
Right. I think Namadeva used mantras to pull in and manifest what he needed, and he knew how powerful they were. And he also knew that I was brought into his field for a reason at that time. And he zoned in on me pretty quickly as one of his students, star students. I mean, you were the Power Shakti, and I was just someone trying to find my way. But very quickly, he inducted me into the Gayatri, and he told me, and I just told you this story, that he told me back in 2008 or 2009, he passed away in 2010, that I needed to master the Gayatri because the Gayatri was the source of creativity for me, and that I had the power to bring mantras, Sanskrit mantras, to Hollywood, and someday I would.
And
I think I will.
well, for readers, for soon-to-be readers, A Shot at Love, each chapter begins with a Sanskrit mantra.
Right.
And you explain the meaning, and then somehow the chapter is connected to the mantra. And you did use Tina Turner, and you have used the Gayatri, and
Eric Clapton,
yes,
which Om Namah Shivaya was Eric Clapton's favorite chant, and it weaves perfectly in through the story because the opening music for the movie that I'm photographing Chris Cooper for, August, Osage County, the opening song is Lay Down Sally with Eric Clapton. And it's just amazing how Shiva never disappoints and why he had a lot of pain and suffering in his life, and the mantras were a way for him to hold on.
right.
And so I speak about Courtney Love, the Beatles. There's lots of people who do mantras.
Yeah, there's that famous story about George Harrison being on a plane. The plane's going to do like a La Bamba, Ricky Valens crash into the mountain, and he starts chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare, called the Mula mantra. And he starts doing that, and all of a sudden the plane just miraculously starts finally going higher and higher, and they got out of danger. And that's like a famous story of him chanting the Hare Krishna mantra.
Right.
So there's a lot of stories like that.
Totally. So there's a Kubera chant that I found from Namadeva that I wrote on the back of a checkbook. And I started doing it because I found the checkbook while I was cleaning my car. I doubled down on the Kubera chant, and I got a call from a Hollywood producer out of the blue who says to me, let's get together. We haven't seen each other in a while. And I said, I think I've really got something with this love and this online dating, and I want you to take me to Netflix. And he said, you're not ready yet. You'll have one chance, and I think you should start a podcast, and I'll help you. So he helped me.
5+ years ago.
5+ years ago. And after he was so kind to help me, I said, Jill, I'm taking you with.
That's right.
And here we are.
5 years later.
Still talking about Chance.
And still live on Cosmic Scene.
Right. And look what we've done in the past 5 years.
And we've brought our I've brought Tom on the journey, your high school buddy,
right,
as our producer.
Oh, he's been my producer for many years as well, and produced my master class, and we've done a lot of creative things together.
Yeah. So before we go on break, Kerry, maybe you can let our listeners know how they can get the book.
Great. You can go to shotAtLoveBook.com. I am selling the book right now through my studio and different singles events and book signings coming up. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it the next day on Amazon. I will soon be releasing the Audible piece, and then I'll be heading into Barnes & Noble's, bookstores, and libraries very soon after the Audible comes out.
Thank you, Kerry Brett, author of Shot at Love, host of Shot at Love podcast. When we come back, we'll take a deep dive into the book, maybe read some of the content and hear some of your wild stories.
Great. Looking for love but tired of the games? Shot at Love is your ultimate playbook for finding the real thing. Written by me, Kerry Brett, celebrity photographer turned dating expert. This book reveals insider secrets, proven strategies, and inspiring stories to help you create your own love story. Whether you're starting over or leveling up, Shot at Love gives you the confidence to take your best shot. Available now because love is worth the risk.
Welcome back. My guest is Kerry Brett, author of Shot at Love. We're looking at this newly released book, talking about some of the backstory about some of these chapters. And we were talking about our mantra guru, Thomas Ashley Farrand, and you wrote a chapter about when you went to one of his spiritual ceremonies that we call pujas, and you had some interesting things happen to you. Do you want to read a little excerpt? And this is where you learned mantras, and every chapter starts with a mantra. So that feels like an appropriate place to start.
Okay, that sounds good. The nomad meets Namadeva. On my way to this Cambridgian chant circle, I walk down a crowded hallway where everyone is in white. I hold tight to my mala beads, and I'm dressed head to toe in black. I'm shocked when I see this man in a robe appear. Upon seeing me, he stops, claps his prayer hands together, and with a big smile, looks down and bows. The first words he said to me were, "Oh, a power Shakti." Dumbfounded, I laughed and said, "I'm not a power Shakti," whatever that was, thinking to myself. He said, "Indeed you are." I smiled, trying not to laugh, then answered, "No, I'm not." "You are because I can tell." "How can you tell?" I asked. "Because you have a Vaishnava line on your forehead. If a person has a Vaishnava line, it means you're a spiritual teacher and a healer." This was already too much, wondering just how I would Botox away this straight line in the middle of my forehead and why I hadn't realized it was so prominent. I really had no clue what was in store for me at that puja in Cambridge, nor did I understand how notable Namadeva's teachings would be in my life. I knew one thing for sure, that I had fallen in love with this guru, and that I needed to see him whenever he came back in town. Namadeva took a liking to me. I became one of his star students like I did with my mentor, Jeff Lubin. Namadeva even inducted me into the Gayatri, which was an insane honor. I sat nervously when he bestowed upon me this blessing. He told me, "Kerry, use the Gayatri around your creative gifts because the Gayatri enhances creativity." I was inducted with the long-form version of the Gayatri, which takes me around 15 minutes to chant 108 times. Faithfully, before every podcast episode I record for Shot at Love, I do the Gayatri right before I go live on the airwaves. Namadeva gave me lots of special mantras that changed my life. One of his favorite mantras was, you could say this one better than I could, Jill.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. He used to actually sing that one.
Yep. Every time he chanted it, he broke out in song and rose to his feet dancing, while the whole group of chanters would rise to dance around him too. He was the total embodiment of love. Years back, I was struggling with having Giovanni at the time move in. Namadeva dug deep into his magic bag of mantras and said, I haven't given this mantra out in 30 years. That day, I started this special Sanskrit mantra, and 9 days later, my ex moved in. Namadeva died a few years later after we met at my first puja. I credit my friend astrologer Jill Jardine, who is also a reverend in Sanskrit mantra and the keeper of his teachings and lineage. Jill had doubled down on mantras to help her dear friend cross over to the spiritual realm when he died on October 1st, 2010. Like most wise sage gurus, they know when their work is done on the physical plane and know when they can be more effective on the other side. So anyways, I think I needed a healer and a guru like Namadeva, like yourself, Jill, because when you come to rock bottom, you either become religious, spiritual, all the above.
Right. Dark night of the soul, finding the way out.
How did you find the way out? And to me, it seemed pretty reasonable to chant something 108 times to change my life.
Yes, and you did, and you were very committed to the mantras. And so what I love about this book is that you have these spiritual stories, but then they're mixed in with really funny dating experiences.
Right.
And some of these characters and the men that you met along the way.
Right, right. So some of the men are the German Leo, Franz Friedrich, the Irish leprechaun that I went out with on the eve of St. Patrick's Day, Liam Lahane, the nice-looking Navajo, Coyote Cameron, the Tinder Bob the Builder, Rory Remington. Let's see. Oh, the software consultant who was the unintentional dater named Donovan Davis.
All the names have been altered to change.
All the names are the first initial is the same as the initial and the last name, leading up to me finding my boyfriend who has the double S's, Scott Stanzenas. So I find love with my realtor on Tinder and become a Tinder success story. So these stories are true, but I changed the identity and the jobs and where they live and all those things. But you can't make this stuff up because
you get the essence of who these people were, though. I'd love you to share one of the more entertaining ones about one of these men.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay, so this is chapter 6. Boys shack up, men build homes. Om Radha Krishnaya Namaha is a devotional mantra dedicated to the divine couple of Radha and Krishna, who are considered to embody divine love in Hinduism. The mantra to find your husband. Studs. Meet Tinder's Bob the Builder, Rory Remington. Rory, age 47, Northeastern University, self-employed, 6 foot, 1 inch, die-hard Pats fan, weekend golfer, 10 miles away. Rory is an upstanding townie, is a professional contractor who owns Remington Construction in Scituate, Massachusetts. Situated precisely halfway between Boston and Plymouth, it has the best natural harbor between the two, a town rich with over 500 years of history. So anyways, that's how most of these chapters start. They start with this colorful character that comes in my feed on Tinder, and I date them for around 3 months until something else crazy happens. And the majority of the book is I can't get off the merry-go-round of going back to the ex. And that's very common. They say it takes around 7 times to break
get over
up,
an ex.
to go back, break up 7 times.
And so your journey was using Tinder when it was sort of in its infancy. I mean, the time period that you were doing this was in the, 2010s or what was...
It was really 2014.
Yeah.
So I think Tinder came out in 2012.
Yeah, so it was still new.
I was an early evolution dating app adopter, really. And being 43, as a single mom with a 13-year-old, I can tell you I didn't really have much competition. So I did really well because people were afraid to go on it.
Yeah, it was the earlier days. You actually cracked the code, too. You went on to teach a lot of other women how to work with Tinder as a dating tool and app. And that's how you developed the swiping soiree.
Right. I wasn't afraid of Tinder. Tinder was my friend. Tinder gave me a hope for a new future. It gave me opportunity. And I used my personality, photographs, and my perseverance to rebuild my life. And when you look at it, young people ask me all the time, "Oh, you're just swiping and this, and I can't stand it." And I always say, "Well, I guess you never dated pre-cell phones with a baby on your hip. Now that's really hard."
Right.
So it's all how you frame the experience. And I am all about bringing new opportunities into my life. And this was a cutting edge tool that I mastered because I realized that dating, online dating, I should say, was marketing at its finest, marketing and branding at its finest.
Of individuals.
It was, if you could understand that it was how you showed up and how your personal brand was positioned, really, that's what you're doing with these photographs and the words that you use to describe yourself. And one of my tools in my arsenal is my humor, and I say funny things to protect myself, but to survive. And I used humor an awful lot. And I was very authentic and very genuine because I didn't know any other way to be.
Right. And I think it's all coming back to that. I mean, you're talking as a professional, you had a really nice glam shot and then you're really funny and entertaining. And these guys, I mean, they don't present themselves or trot themselves out in the way that you did. Do you think it's harder for women on some of these dating apps where the men can just, slap up a picture of them playing basketball or something and still get...
I think online dating apps are set up for men,
Right.
especially Bumble.
Right, which is the one where the girls have to make the first move. How much easier can it be, right, for them, for the men?
Yeah, they don't get attached like women do in a sense.
Right.
I mean, I think they feel insecure and they're afraid to get hurt. But it's a different game. And if you go into a steakhouse in Boston, there's going to be all these guys sitting at the bar and hardly any women. Because women are afraid to show up by themselves, travel by themselves, do all these things by themselves. We have to be more careful.
Right.
So when you understand that women are doing the same thing as all the other women, I just decided to do the exact opposite and run it like a baller and a gamer and a girl boss. And I didn't do it purposely. I did it because I was a single mom who didn't have a lot of time, who had to run a studio, and I meant business. And even though I didn't have a lot of confidence, it didn't mean I couldn't fake it till you make it.
Right. And that actually worked for you because here this book is telling all the adventures as you meet all these different men, the heartbreak of Giovanni, and then what happened after that as you found Tinder and you dated. But then the ending of the story is that you did find love and you did find it through Tinder. So tell us a little bit about that and maybe share the wisdom that you accrued. It is in the book, but like some little sound bites of what for people, male or female, who are out there, maybe they were married and single and they have little kids. I mean, I think at any stages of life, whether they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you have gems that you can share about this process of finding love. So
Right. Well, when you mention all those different scenarios, the different age groups, children, not children, or otherwise, everyone has something in their life that's happened to them.
Right.
Or is still happening.
Yes.
And that is a block and a storyline that you create in your brain to keep you safe and to keep you from taking action. And it's problematic. And when people ask me the script that I flipped, I had many scripts. I had the script of being a single mom with a baby. No one would want a single mom with a baby. Then years later, I'm on Tinder with a 13-year-old. Well, maybe no one wants it. And that was not true. It wasn't true 10 years prior, and it wasn't true when my daughter was 13. Was I damaged goods because I had some failed relationships? No. But I had to stop internalizing when things did not work out. I had to say they did not work out because rejection is protection. And that person wasn't supposed to be a long-termer in your life.
Right.
And I had to go through this hero's journey, really,
Right.
to become the person that I am today, to appreciate the love that I do have, and realize that people are creating scenarios and ideals that don't exist.
Right.
So there is no perfect person,
Right.
and you can't become perfect, and you don't need to become perfect to find love. That you're just okay the way you are.
Like Mark Darcy said to Bridget Jones, I love you just the way you are, Bridget.
Bridget's a perfect example. Her flawedness is why she's so lovable, because people can see themselves in her. And she leads with her heart. Your heart is your number one weapon, really. And it's not like
GPS.
war, but
Your GPS.
it's your strength. So if you lead by your heart, if you really like something, you don't have to be exactly the same as everyone else. In fact, it's better if you have a lot of differences because it makes it really interesting.
Right. And people want authenticity. And if they don't, then screw them. You don't want to be with them.
That's right.
So I think before we close out this episode, which you've been an amazing guest, maybe leave our listeners with about 3 gems from your experiences, finding love, the book, the podcast, the motivational Kerry. What does she have to say to our listeners?
Well, beauty is an inside job. And I've interviewed enough models. I have enough pretty friends to know that how you feel about yourself, really, you can do all the things. I talked about Botox, and you can do lots of things to make yourself feel better, and I encourage that. But do yourself a favor, invest in yourself, get a good headshot, put yourself out there in the best light that you can. And if you want, you can grab a new outfit, you can do all those things, you can get, I did it all. A spray tan, a blowout, all the things. But guess what? That isn't going to make you feel better if you don't feel good about yourself. So you've got to find a way to like yourself, because how you perceive yourself is how you'll be portrayed and how you'll be treated. Because you teach men or whoever you'd like to pull in, if you'd like to date a woman, same sex, whoever you're looking for, it's an inside job.
Amen.
It really is.
Thank you, Kerry Brett.
And the other thing you've got to believe, Ted Lasso style, you've got to believe and find a way to believe. If you can believe, you'll achieve, and you will find love.
Hallelujah.
But Jill, you gave me that. I didn't believe, and you said, Kerry, karmically, you're due for a break. And you told me through the stars that I would find love. And once I rebuilt my life, which I did do one step at a time, sometimes I had to come once a week to see you, to hold on to your belief or borrow your belief to believe in myself. But you were right. But it did come down to belief. I will say that. And action and consistency, follow through. You can't just, Amazon's not dropping a guy off at your doorstep wrapped in a bow. We'd like that, but it doesn't happen that way.
Thank you, Kerry. Your humor, your wit, your intellect, and entertaining words have made this a really fun podcast for the 5th anniversary episode of Cosmic Scene. Thank you, Kerry.
Thank you so much.
It's a great time to book a reading. So check out my website, JillJardineAstrology.com/shop, and pick the kind of reading or service you would like. I hope you enjoyed this episode featuring my guest, Kerry Brett, talking about her book, Shot at Love. Remember to subscribe, download, share, and give us a 5-star review. This is Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, sending beautiful pictures of love and healing into the quantum field.